Joining me to discuss is George Papadopoulos, a foreign policy advisor during President Trump's first term and a Newsmax contributor. Welcome, George.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Thank you. Now, George, I'm anxious to talk to you and dig into this because you were certainly a direct victim of Comey's lies in Operation Crossfire Hurricane. Now, you served prison sentence as a result of this. You were actually eventually pardoned, obviously. Do you feel a sense of vindication seeing Comey face justice? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. At the personal level, I feel total and absolute vindication. And yes, I was pardoned by President Trump, something I'll always be grateful to the president for. Look, I just like to repeat what the president wrote on Truth Social. The dirty cop got caught. James Comey was a dirty cop who ran a dirty investigation, who then passed this investigation off to even more dirty cops like Robert Mueller and his thugs. So this entire scandal was a very disturbing chapter in American history in which the Department of Justice and basically the government apparatus was weaponized to interfere in our democratic process and to affect Donald Trump's first term. Now, there were many victims who were caught up in that crosshair and that plot against the president, including myself, the president. But most importantly, 75 to 80 million MAGA voters who voted for President Trump were ultimately victims of this. So I'm absolutely thrilled to see what's happening here with Comey, and I think we're going to see a lot more moving forward.
How likely do you think there is to be a conviction here, George?
I think we can't forget that President Trump did not indict James Comey. George Papadopoulos did not indict James Comey, even though I would have loved to be in that grand jury to do it myself. But a group of his peers in basically a blue district in Virginia indicted James Comey. So it's not looking good anytime anybody's indicted. So clearly he's being valiant. He's fighting back. He's calling this targeted prosecution or whatever you want to call it. But I think the prosecution has an extremely strong case. And the evidence of the crime is basically on national television, in which Comey had this exchange with Senator Ted Cruz where he lied point blank to the senator. And the only reason I believe he was so blatant in this alleged criminal behavior is because he never thought he would be caught.
I think you're right. So I do want to shift gears a little bit. There is a new report from Just the News that states that FBI deployed more than 250 plainclothes agents to the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. What's your reaction to that report?
This is just another exhibit of the weaponization of the intelligence agencies, the Department of Justice, under the Democrat administrations. It almost seems as if the DOJ and the intel agents under the Democrats are not interested in investigating crimes, but creating crimes. And that's exactly what seems to be alleged here with this bombshell revelation regarding the various informants or agents that were in these crowds.
Is it George? Is that what the report? I mean, I'm not certain yet. I haven't, seen other news outlets report on it. Is this actually? Is the suspicion that perhaps there was FBI agents that were leading this effort, or they were just there for monitoring? I mean, what's your analysis of what they were doing there and why they were there?
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't have direct personal knowledge of the very unfortunate events of January 6th, which really caught so many people in a very unfortunate situation, where some people obviously went to prison. But according to the report, there were plainclothes FBI assets, agents, informants embedded within this crowd. Now, were all of them simply monitoring? Were some riling others up? That's something that I think further investigation will have to be conducted, so that we finally were able to close this dark chapter in American history in which so many people were obviously hurt as well.
No, that's a good point. But I do want to go back to the Comey situation. Now, we know that the judge that's presiding over the initial arraignment is U.S. District Judge Michael Nachmanoff, a Biden appointee. How do you think having someone appointed by a former president will play into these proceedings? Is that a factor? And do you know much about this judge's history and maybe even partisanship?
Well, clearly, it's never a good situation for the prosecution team when you have an Obama or a Democrat appointed judge presiding over a very monumental case, a very an unprecedented case. We've never actually had an FBI director not only indicted, but also facing trial on two serious charges. These are charges that, the Comey can end up sitting in prison for 5 to 20 years. This isn't about jaywalking. This isn't a small charge. So clearly, that might affect what type of evidence is presented to the court. But besides that, I think that the government and AG Bondi and Kash Patel and others who have worked on this case have such an airtight case that not even a Democrat appointed judge can stand in the face of what's inevitably coming.
Interesting. So you got about 30 seconds here, George. I do want to ask you, President Trump has said that there are others that are going to face prosecution. How deep do you think that investigation goes, and who do you think the president has on his radar besides just Comey?
Well, let's just look what Director Kash Patel has stated himself, that the government is looking at a likely 10-year-long government conspiracy case against the Democrats, including the DNC, the Hillary Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton herself, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, others. You also have John Brennan, who was put under criminal investigation the same exact day that James Comey was put under criminal investigation just about a month ago. So I think people like John Brennan, people who are likely working underneath John Brennan at the FBI with Jim Comey, those are likely going to be the next targets, including John Bolton, who also had his home raided regarding classified information. So I think AG Bondi is going to have a very she's going to have her hands filled with many cases moving forward, I believe.
She's got enough to say grace over. There's certainly not a lack of people that need to be looked into from the prior administration. So, George Papadopoulos, thank you for being with us, my friend. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.